Live from New York. It's 5 decades of laughter. Saturday night, 11:30 p.m. A hush falls over living rooms across America. We enter a world of irreverent skits, hilarious characters, and musical performances. For 50 years, Saturday Night Live has been more than just a comedy show. It's been a training ground for some of the biggest names in comedy, and it's been a mirror reflecting the American psyche. This year, as SNL celebrates its golden anniversary, it's time to take a nostalgic journey.
From Studio 8H to your living room, a national pastime. Saturday Night Live isn't just a show, it's a ritual. It's a shared experience that transcends generations. The thrill of seeing who the host would be that week, and the joy of witnessing comedic brilliance unfold in real time. SNL has become a touchstone of American culture. Its catchphrases have become part of our everyday lexicon. There's nothing like the feeling of watching a sketch go gloriously right or hilariously wrong.
The not ready for primetime players who defined a generation. The early years of SNL were a whirlwind of experimentation and innovation. A group of young, hungry comedians, dubbed the not ready for primetime players, burst onto the scene. They were irreverent, unpredictable, and fearless. Names like John Belushi, Gilda Radner, Dan Aykroyd, and Chevy Chase became synonymous with a new brand of humor. The original cast of SNL created characters and sketches that have become the stuff of legend.
More cowbell please catching lightning in a bottle for 50 years. 50 years is a lifetime for any television show, let alone a live sketch comedy show. How has SNL thrived for half a century? By constantly reinventing itself while staying true to its core values. Each decade brings new comedic talent to Studio 8H. From Eddie Murphy and Billy Crystal in the 80s to Will Ferrell and Tina Fey in the 90s, SNL has always had its finger on the pulse of what's funny.
Lorne Michaels, with his quiet intensity and uncanny ability to spot comedic talent, became the guiding force behind SNL. He fostered a collaborative yet competitive environment where writers and performers were encouraged to push each other to be funnier, bolder, and more outrageous. He understood that the best comedy often came from a place of chaos and improvisation. Michaels also recognized the importance of attracting top-tier musical guests. He knew that having big-name musicians on the show would not only draw in viewers, but also lend an air of coolness and credibility to the proceedings. From the very beginning, SNL became a coveted platform for musicians to showcase their latest hits and connect with a wider audience. But Michaels' greatest strength was his ability to create a sense of family among the cast and crew. Despite the long hours, intense pressure, and inevitable creative clashes, there was a palpable camaraderie on the set of SNL. This sense of community was evident in the way the cast members supported each other, both on and off screen, and it shone through in their performances.
From stand-up stages to Studio 8H, the early years of finding their feet. The first season of SNL was a whirlwind of experimentation and discovery. The cast and crew were still figuring out what worked and what didn't. There were brilliant sketches that became instant classics, like the Coneheads, a family of aliens with cone-shaped heads, and Land Shark, a recurring bit featuring a shark who knocked on people's doors and devoured them. There were also sketches that fell flat, jokes that bombed, and technical difficulties that threatened to derail the entire show. But through it all, the cast and crew persevered, fueled by their passion for comedy and their determination to make SNL a success. They learned to embrace the unpredictable nature of live television, turning on-air mishaps into comedic gold. Word of mouth spread quickly about this new, edgy comedy show. Viewers tuned in week after week to see what outrageous antics the not ready for primetime players would get up to next. SNL became a cultural phenomenon, a must-see event that had people gathering around their television sets on Saturday nights, eager for a dose of laughter and shared experience.
Early triumphs and near disasters. The early years of SNL were not without their controversies. Tackling taboo subjects and using profanity, its political satire drew criticism. George Carlin's infamous 7 dirty words caught censors off guard, leading to a landmark Supreme Court case. Despite controversies, SNL thrived, pushing boundaries and resonating with young audiences. It became a cultural touchstone.
The changing of the guard, saying goodbye and passing the torch. By the end of the 70s, the original not ready for prime-time players had become stars. Their faces were on magazine covers, and their catchphrases quoted by millions. One by one, they left SNL to pursue film careers. Chevy Chase left after 1 season. John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd followed, finding success in films. Gilda Radner, Jane Curtin, and Lorraine Newman also moved on. Lorne Michaels stepped down as producer. The departure marked the end of an era for SNL. The show was at a crossroads.
The Eddie Murphy Effect, a new generation, a new brand of funny. The 6th season of SNL began with uncertainty. With a new cast and producer, the show seemed lost. Enter Eddie Murphy, a charismatic teenager from Brooklyn. At 19, he quickly became the breakout star. His energy and comedic timing revived SNL. Memorable characters like Mr. Robinson and Buckwheat had audiences roaring. Murphy's success on SNL launched his film career.
Live from New York. It's the 1980s. SNL weathers the storm. The 1980s were a turbulent time for SNL. The show went through a revolving door of cast members, writers, and producers as it struggled to find its footing in a rapidly changing comedic landscape. The departure of Eddie Murphy in 1984 left a void that was difficult to fill, and the show's ratings continued to fluctuate. Despite the challenges, SNL managed to produce some memorable moments during the 1980s. Billy Crystal and Martin Short brought their own brand of manic energy to the show. Christopher Guest's deadpan humor and penchant for creating quirky characters found a home on SNL. And a young writer named Conan O'Brien honed his comedic voice, creating recurring characters like the narcissistic talk show host Pimpbot 5000. But it was the show's willingness to experiment, to try new things and push boundaries that kept it afloat during these tumultuous years. SNL introduced a new generation of viewers to the joys of sketch comedy, even if it wasn't always clear what direction the show was headed in.
The Kids in the Hall and on SNL alternative comedy finds a home. By the late 1980s, a new wave of alternative comedy was sweeping across America. Stand-up comedians like Jerry Seinfeld and Ellen DeGeneres were finding success with their observational humor, while cable channels like HBO and Comedy Central provided a platform for edgier, more experimental comedy. Michaels brought in a new wave of writers and performers influenced by alternative comedy, including a young writer named Conan O'Brien. One of the most significant additions to the SNL cast during this period was Mike Myers, a Canadian comedian who had cut his teeth on The Kids in the Hall, a sketch comedy show known for its absurdist humor and gender-bending characters.
The Dana Carvey Factor, master of impressions and political satire. Another standout performer of the late 1980s and early 1990s was Dana Carvey, a master of impressions and physical comedy. Carvey's impressions, particularly his portrayal of President Bush, became staples of SNL's political satire, which experienced a resurgence during this period. With the 1992 presidential election, SNL once again became must-see TV, as viewers tuned in to see how the show would skewer the candidates and lampoon the political process. Carvey's comedic partnership with Mike Myers also produced some of SNL's most memorable sketches of the era, including Wayne's World, a low-budget public access show hosted by two metalheads, Wayne Campbell and Garth Alger. The popularity of Wayne's World led to 2 feature films, further cementing Carvey and Myers' status as comedy icons.
Over its 5 decades on the air, Saturday Night Live has become a rite of passage for celebrities of all stripes. To host SNL is to join an exclusive club, a fraternity of the funny and the fearless. For some stars, hosting SNL is a chance to break free from their carefully crafted personas. Tom Hanks, known for his affable, everyman roles, has consistently used his SNL appearances to embrace his silly side, creating memorable characters like the over-enthusiastic David S. Pumpkins. For musicians, hosting SNL is an opportunity to showcase their comedic talents alongside their musical abilities. Justin Timberlake, for example, has become as well known for his recurring appearances on SNL as he is for his chart-topping hits.
To host or not to host, the makings of an SNL MVP. Not everyone who graces the Studio 8H stage emerges victorious. Hosting SNL is a high-wire act, and even seasoned performers can stumble. Steve Martin, for example, is considered one of the greatest SNL hosts of all time. Alec Baldwin is another SNL MVP. His recurring portrayal of Donald Trump during the 2016 presidential election and beyond was both hilarious and unsettling, capturing the absurdity and menace of the Trump presidency with uncanny accuracy.
From Alec Baldwin's Trump to Kate McKinnon's Hillary political impressions that made history. Political satire has been a cornerstone of SNL since its inception. From Chevy Chase's stumbling Gerald Ford to Dana Carvey's bumbling George H.W. Bush, SNL has a long history of skewering politicians of all stripes. During the 2016 presidential election, SNL became a must-watch for its take on the often surreal political landscape. Alec Baldwin's portrayal of Donald Trump as a thin-skinned, narcissistic man-child became a cultural phenomenon, while Kate McKinnon's Hillary Clinton, with her steely gaze and pantsuit-clad determination, captured the complex emotions of a woman vying to become the first female president. SNL's political satire, while often hilarious, has also been the subject of controversy.
Weekend Update anchoring the nation's funny bone since 1975. No discussion of SNL would be complete without mentioning Weekend Update, the show's long-running fake news segment. Since its debut in the first season, Weekend Update has been a platform for SNL's writers and performers to deliver satirical takes on current events, pop culture, and the absurdities of everyday life. Over the years, Weekend Update has been anchored by a rotating cast of SNL's brightest comedic minds, including Chevy Chase, Jane Curtin, Dennis Miller, Norm Macdonald, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Seth Meyers, and Colin Jost. Each anchor has brought their own unique perspective and comedic sensibility to the desk, shaping the tone and tenor of Weekend Update for their respective eras. Weekend Update has also been a launching pad for some of SNL's most memorable characters, including Seth Meyers' and Amy Poehler's Really, with Seth and Amy and Tina Fey's unhinged Palin.
Section 5. Stop the presses. When SNL makes headlines, not just jokes. For a show that prides itself on pushing boundaries, it's no surprise that SNL has had its fair share of controversial moments. One of the most infamous moments in SNL history occurred in 1992, when musical guest Sinead O'Connor tore up a photo of Pope John Paul II during her performance of Bob Marley's War. O'Connor's act of protest, intended to draw attention to child sexual abuse in the Catholic Church, shocked viewers and sparked a firestorm of criticism. Despite the backlash, or perhaps because of it, SNL has continued to be a platform for artists and performers to express themselves freely, even if it means ruffling feathers or challenging the status quo. It's this willingness to take risks, to push the envelope, and to spark conversation that has kept SNL relevant and engaging for 5 decades.
Section 1. Crossfire hurricane navigating the minefield of comedy and controversy. Comedy, by its very nature, is subjective. What one person finds hilarious, another might deem offensive. Over its 5 decades on the air, SNL has weathered its fair share of controversies. But as the cultural landscape has shifted and as the lines between comedy and offense have become increasingly blurred, SNL has found itself navigating a minefield of potential pitfalls. The rise of social media has only amplified the potential for controversy.
Section 2. Sinead, Kanye, and the art of the on-air uprising. Live television, by its very nature, is unpredictable. SNL, with its live format and its penchant for pushing boundaries, has been the stage for some of the most memorable and controversial moments in television history. From Sinead O'Connor's infamous Pope photo-tearing incident to Kanye West's impromptu pro-Trump rant, SNL has seen its fair share of on-air uprisings that have left audiences stunned, amused, and outraged in equal measure. These moments of unscripted rebellion, while often uncomfortable to watch, have also served as a reminder of the power of live television to spark conversation and challenge the status quo. Whether it's a musical guest using their platform to make a political statement, or a host going off script to express their own personal views, these moments of on-air defiance have become part of SNL's legacy, for better or for worse.
The fine line between funny and offensive when SNL misses the mark. Comedy, at its best, can be a powerful tool for social commentary, holding a mirror up to society's absurdities and challenging our preconceived notions. But comedy can also be cruel, lazy, and insensitive, reinforcing harmful stereotypes and punching down at marginalized groups. And SNL, despite its best intentions, has sometimes missed the mark, airing sketches that have been widely criticized as being offensive, insensitive, or just plain unfunny. One common criticism leveled at SNL is that its humor can be too reliant on stereotypes, particularly when it comes to race, gender, and sexuality. While the show has made strides in recent years to diversify its cast and writing staff, it still occasionally falls back on tired tropes and cliches that perpetuate harmful stereotypes. Cancel culture and the comedy conundrum. Can SNL survive the outrage? In the age of cancel culture, where individuals and institutions are held accountable for past transgressions and offensive behavior, SNL has found itself facing increased scrutiny and criticism. The show's long history and its vast archive of sketches and performances have provided ample fodder for those seeking to hold SNL accountable for its past sins. Some critics argue that SNL should be held to a higher standard, given its cultural influence and its platform for reaching a wide audience. They point to instances where the show has mocked marginalized groups, perpetuated harmful stereotypes, or made light of sensitive subjects as evidence that SNL is out of touch with today's more socially conscious viewers. Others defend SNL, arguing that comedy should be allowed to push boundaries and that the show should not be held responsible for jokes or sketches that were considered acceptable decades ago. They argue that cancel culture has gone too far and that it threatens to stifle creativity and free expression.
Laughing through the pain, SNL, as a reflection of our divided times. Saturday Night Live has always been a reflection of the times, for better or for worse. From its early days lampooning the Nixon administration to its recent skewering of the Trump presidency, SNL has never shied away from tackling the political and social issues of the day. And in today's increasingly polarized and divided world, SNL's role as a cultural mirror has become even more important and more fraught. The show is tasked with finding humor in a world that often seems devoid of it, with bridging political divides, and with speaking to a fractured audience with widely divergent views. But even when it stumbles, SNL remains a valuable cultural institution, a forum for satire, commentary, and yes, even laughter, in a world that desperately needs all three.
The SNL farm system, cultivating comedy's next generation. More than just a comedy show, Saturday Night Live has functioned as a comedic farm system, nurturing the talents of countless writers, performers, and crew members who have gone on to achieve massive success in the entertainment industry. The list of SNL alumni reads like a who's who of comedy legends. Eddie Murphy, Bill Murray, Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Kristen Wiig. The list goes on and on. These comedic titans honed their craft on the Studio 8H stage, developing their voices, experimenting with characters, and learning the art of live performance under intense pressure. The show's writer's room has been a breeding ground for some of the sharpest comedic minds in the business, producing Emmy-winning writers and showrunners who have gone on to create and helm some of television's most beloved sitcoms and late-night talk shows.
From Studio 8H to the silver screen SNL's enduring legacy in film, Saturday Night Live has had a profound impact on the film industry, both in front of and behind the camera. From blockbuster comedies spawned from iconic SNL sketches to critically acclaimed films written and directed by SNL alumni, the show's comedic DNA is woven into the fabric of American cinema. The Wayne's World movies, born from the minds of Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, remain quintessential examples of SNL sketches that successfully transitioned to the big screen, capturing the hearts and funny bones of audiences worldwide. The Blues Brothers, starring original cast members John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, achieved cult classic status, showcasing the raw comedic energy and musical talents that SNL helped cultivate. Beyond these direct adaptations, SNL alumni have made their mark on Hollywood with a plethora of successful comedies. From the absurdist humor of Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy, starring Will Ferrell, to the sharp wit of Mean Girls, written by Tina Fey, SNL's comedic sensibilities are evident in some of the most quotable and beloved comedies of the past few decades.
The Empire of Laughter, SNL's expanding universe of influence. SNL's impact extends far beyond the realms of sketch comedy and film. Its influence can be felt in stand-up comedy, television sitcoms, late-night talk shows, and even the world of politics. The show's comedic sensibilities have seeped into the cultural consciousness, shaping the way we consume humor and influencing the tone and tenor of comedic entertainment across multiple platforms. Stand-up comedy, in particular, has benefited from the talent pool that SNL has nurtured. Jerry Seinfeld, Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, and countless other comedic heavyweights got their start on the stand-up circuit, honing their craft before landing coveted spots on the SNL stage. Late-night talk shows, too, have been shaped by the comedic stylings of SNL alumni. From David Letterman and Conan O'Brien to Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, SNL has served as a training ground for some of the most recognizable faces in late-night television. These hosts bring their SNL-honed comedic timing, writing skills, and ability to think on their feet to their respective shows, shaping the landscape of late-night entertainment.
In the digital age, where memes reign supreme and viral moments can make or break careers, Saturday Night Live has had to adapt to the changing landscape of how comedy is consumed and shared. The show that once ruled the airwaves on Saturday nights now faces the challenge of staying relevant in a world saturated with online content and fleeting attention spans. However, SNL has proven to be a master of reinvention, successfully navigating the treacherous waters of the digital age by embracing the power of social media and the viral potential of its sketches and characters. Iconic moments from the show, like More Cowbell and Debbie Downer, have taken on a life of their own online, becoming endlessly quotable and instantly recognizable memes. SNL's social media presence has become an extension of the show itself, offering behind-the-scenes glimpses, promoting upcoming episodes, and engaging with fans in real time. The show's official Twitter account, with its witty commentary and timely memes, has become a must-follow for comedy lovers, further solidifying SNL's place in the digital landscape.
As Saturday Night Live enters its 6th decade on the air, it faces a future as unpredictable as a live sketch on a Saturday night. The world has changed dramatically since those early days in Studio 8H. The media landscape has fractured into a million pieces, with streaming services and social media platforms vying for our attention. The political climate is more divisive than ever, and the boundaries of comedy are constantly being redrawn. Can SNL continue to thrive in this rapidly evolving environment? Can it remain a cultural touchstone, a launching pad for comedic talent, and a source of laughter and shared experience in a world that often feels fractured and uncertain? The challenges are undeniable. The competition for viewers is fiercer than ever, with countless streaming services offering a dizzying array of comedy options. The attention spans of audiences have dwindled, accustomed to the instant gratification of viral videos and bite-sized content. And the ever-present threat of cancel culture looms large, making it riskier than ever to push comedic boundaries. Staying relevant in the age of streaming and social media, SNL must adapt to the changing ways audiences consume comedy. The days of gathering around the television on Saturday night are long gone. SNL has embraced the digital realm, with sketches going viral online. The show's social media presence keeps it in the cultural conversation. SNL must find new ways to engage viewers in the digital space.
The power of laughter. Why SNL still matters in a world that needs it most. Despite challenges, SNL remains vital. It provides a much-needed respite, uniting us through laughter. Laughter is the best medicine. SNL finds humor in dark places, reminding us it's okay to laugh. It shapes cultural conversations, tackling tough topics.
Passing the torch. A new generation of comedic voices takes the stage. As SNL looks to the future, it will be up to a new generation of comedic voices to carry the torch, to uphold the show's legacy of comedic innovation and cultural relevance, while also forging their own path and making their own mark on the hallowed halls of Studio 8H. The current cast of SNL is a diverse and talented group of performers, writers, and crew members who are already making their presence felt, bringing fresh perspectives, unique comedic sensibilities, and a willingness to experiment with new formats and styles. They are the inheritors of a rich comedic legacy, and they have the potential to shape the future of SNL for years to come. The future of SNL will also depend on its ability to attract and nurture the next generation of comedic talent, to provide a platform for new voices, and to continue to be a place where comedic boundaries are pushed, where risks are taken, and where laughter reigns supreme.
Live from New York. It's Saturday night. The legacy continues. 50 years after it first graced the airwaves, Saturday Night Live remains a cultural institution, a testament to the enduring power of laughter and live television. As long as there are politicians to skewer, celebrities to lampoon, and absurdities of life to point out, there will be a place for Saturday Night Live. And as long as there are talented comedians eager to make their mark, there will be a stage for them at Studio 8H. Live from New York, it's Saturday night, and the legacy continues.